Hello, hello, hello. So I'm super excited. So tonight we are doing a Facebook Live all around yoga practice in your pregnancy. So I'm just waiting for Tess to come live on. So when I see her coming live on, I will add her. But just until she is here and available, I just thought I would give it a bit of an introduction. So the last couple of years I have been practicing yoga. There's Tess, so I'm just going to add her. So let's see. Last couple of years I've been practicing yoga, and I'm convinced that because of the benefits of doing that for the last couple of years, that it's made this pregnancy so much easier. So I'm 10 years older now than I was when I had my first pregnancy, but yet I feel so much fitter this time round, and I'm convinced it's because of there's Tess. Hello, hello. I'm just saying the session, just chatting. So basically, I was just saying like how I really feel that doing yoga has had such a massive impact on how I feel in this pregnancy. And the reason why I wanted Tess to come along and talk to you is the fact that I've been going to her classes and I've been super impressed with them, and I really felt that it would be great to have her to come and talk to you about the benefits of it, rather than me, who's just somebody who plays about and comes to a few classes here or there. So just to give a bit of introduction, so I asked Tess for a bit of introduction, and she said, go and have a look at my website and take it from there. So I've not been to it before to see that bit, because I know Tess really well. She's one of my good friends. But it's really lovely to read. So she's a doodler, crafter, artist, a mum, and she was a secondary art and design teacher, and she's a sister to 4 bright and beautiful souls, a creator, passionate about nourishing healthy soul foods. So I don't know if you've seen any of her blogs, but her blogs have been amazing about different foods that she creates. She's a doula, birth worker, moon mama, a yogi, a lover of soul, hip hop, singing, a lot in between, and that she has been doing yoga since the age of 17, which I didn't know, but having been at her classes and seen how bendy she is, then I can understand that. So just really in terms of, do you want to just give us a bit of background about how you got into yoga and how specifically you got into pregnancy yoga and why you decided to go down that path?
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, that was a long spiel. That's on my website, and it's really cringeworthy. When you said lover, I thought you were going to just stop there. I was like, oh my God, did I write that? So no, anyway, digressing. Yeah, yoga is just like a huge part of my life and is beneficial in so many ways. And specifically right now, talking about pregnancy yoga,
Yeah.
I kind of got into a real want or need to support other women after having experienced it through my own pregnancy, the first one, and just noticing how much it transformed my kind of day-to-day through the pregnancy, but also how it completely changed my practice. I had been practicing before, but it opened me up to a whole new world of a world of understanding and knowing about myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the magic was for birth as well, and motherhood wasn't specifically what the postures that you do on the mat. You know, lots of people, that's how you get started, obviously, and you go to a class, but it's the deeper resonance of stuff that comes after, and it sort of drip feeds in, and then you start to notice things change, or your thought patterns, maybe the quality of your breath, and then how you feel generally day to day, and then when you don't do it and the impact that it has. And I think in pregnancy there's so much going on. There's so many changes constantly happening, and you're constantly having to reassess, readjust, accept, do all these things which are really challenging. And in our day-to-day, like, change is so massively huge and hard, and pregnant women are dealing with that, all of that, plus all the hormonal development, physiological things, maybe not sleeping. It's just massive. And having something to support that mind, body and soul, so emotional and mental health. That was for me where the passion came to want to share that with other people. Because I think that is really the beauty of the practice. It's not about being, more bendy in your pregnancy or being able to do a posture. It's integrating something that just becomes like a way of life that you can then tap into that toolbox when you're in labour, potentially, or as a mum when you've got a baby that's crying and you're really tired and you're losing your marbles, you feel like you're gonna, it's those little nuggets where something might just pop in and save you from feeling completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, totally agree. And actually, I think that's one of the things that's been lovely about your class is it's been, a lot of it has been about the breath, and a lot of it has been about instinctively tuning in with your body rather than forcing yourself to do something. It's been about really going into your body and getting to know your body. And I think that's what I really like, rather than feeling that you have to hold specific poses for a specific amount of time. It's really instinctively starting to get to know your body and do what feels good, or if something feels a bit juicy, working on that bit that feels a bit juicy. So and it's just about doing that. And I think it's quite a different way to approach it, rather than feeling you've got a set routine within your class. It's about moving fluidly with your body, isn't it? So
and you can go to a class and move through a sequence, and that's fine. But I think it's an opportunity. That's what yoga is trying to do anyway. But sometimes it's just, there's lots of different levels. And for women when they're pregnant, it's about trying to listen to their own bodies and just learn about their own bodies.
Totally. And I think, going into the benefits, I think you've covered some of the benefits already. But I mean, the benefits, I think, are very much it's the emotional side as well as the physical side. And what's your thoughts on that?
I think one of the real positives or wonderful things, because a lot of people, so I've had the amazing been blessed to have some friends and some yogis who I actually trained with come and to pregnancy yoga through their pregnancies. And it's really lovely to see the kind of range of different women who come. And sometimes people would say, why is she going to come to a pregnancy class at 14 weeks when she can do everything and she could just practice at home? And it's kind of about understanding that it's not really about your proficiency in a certain posture, or like you said, it's more about, it's a sanctuary, it's a space to go to where there's other women who are in that same environment. And I think especially earlier on, it can feel very isolating because possibly not many people know, and you feel potentially quite different, or there's things constantly changing and it can be quite overwhelming, but you're not really talking to people at work don't know. And then they come into the room and you can tell those people who were earlier on, because they're just like, oh, it's so nice to be around pregnant women and to just not have to explain or or to just have that sense of empathy, the listening ear, all those things. So I think that's really important. And just a space to feel empowered about being pregnant, to celebrate being pregnant, instead of feeling like, I'm doing my usual thing, but I'm pregnant. To actually support and cultivate a time and a space just for you to connect with your baby and your body and to feel, supported. Really.
Totally. And I totally agree with that, because I think it's lovely for me to actually be around other pregnant women, because obviously I do a lot of my own birth, I do birth preparation for other people, but actually I spend very, very little time doing my own birth preparation, and actually so it's nice for me to get that time to actually have that hour and a quarter where I spend focusing in on my body and thinking about my baby and connecting with my baby is really, really lovely. And I think that's why going to a class is so important, because it gives you that time. And especially I think when you've got older children and you're in a busy house, and it gives you that sanctuary is what you said. And I think that's it's so important. So to have that space to just go and just be and connect and work with your body. So totally.
And I think one of the most powerful things is So sometimes if someone comes early, they might be feeling frustration, like, whoa, well, this is too slow this week, or this is just focusing on the breath, or I'm visualizing, but I'm visualizing something that's like really far away. You're challenging yourself in new ways, and also just dealing with the issue of frustration. And it's like that is part of, frustration is often a huge part of birth.
Yeah,
And or
totally.
just that essence of waiting or not quite knowing when something's going to happen, and
Yeah,
agitation and all those different things. And I think it's good to sit with all of that and
yeah,
to experience it, and to just feel in your body what you're feeling in that moment, and
yeah,
be able to have a space to do that, rather than feeling like it's another to do, or something that you've got to achieve,
yeah,
or you're
totally.
kind of trying to undo a little bit,
Yeah,
like do less,
I know.
so that you
And
can
actually,
really be.
we've spoken about that quite a few times. It's really about coping with
Mm.
uncertainty, surrendering, trusting. These are all
Oh
things that
my
we've spoken
God.
about quite a lot in the class. And I think it's so healthy for women to start seeing things differently and to let go of some of
Yeah.
that control. I think control in birth is
Yeah.
really important, but self-control in birth isn't.
Yeah.
Like, you have to let go of the self-control. I think we need to feel that we have some semblance of control, but
Oh,
to
of
be able
course.
to
Yeah.
release the self-control in our body is really important. So I've
Definitely. And
spoken quite a
just
lot about that in the class.
surrendering to that sense of trust,
Yeah,
and literally listening to your own instincts, rather than, listening to me or following someone else. Like, just like you said, that thing of honoring what you feel like on that day,
yeah,
and doing that. And I think, because in a pregnancy class, maybe out with a normal class, and I did go to normal classes all the way through my first pregnancy, and I go to them now, but it's different.
yeah,
It's a different space,
yeah, it is.
and it works for you if that's good for your body, but it's different for every woman. But I think within a pregnancy yoga space, it's more about intuitively listening and
Yeah.
moving with your body. And if you want to sit down halfway through, you just do that. That's great. If you want to have like an hour shavasana, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
on you go. Amazing.
I'll remember that for next week. So
Yeah, do it, do it. If you need
and
it, do it.
and in terms of like do you feel that women need to have experience of yoga before coming to your classes? So
No,
no.
no,
Mhm.
100% no. And it's the same line, that question, do you need some experience to go to a yoga class? Or people, that is a common email that I would get about general classes, like, oh, I've never done yoga before, and I know it says everyone welcome, but I'm not really sure that. It's like, it is just your practice,
Yeah.
and essentially there's somebody there to support and hold space and facilitate. And in some ways, the joys of being a doula, it's that similar thing. You're holding a space, and you're sharing the things that but you're also learning constantly from all those people. I mean, that's what teaching is, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's like a fluid thing, and you're interacting. And if you've got obviously a sequence, yes, you're following a sequence, but within anything physical, it's like we're all made up completely differently. So everyone needs to listen, and teachers would go around and make adjustments, but it's more about self-adjustment. And
Yeah.
even in normal yoga, that's exactly the same, and
Mhm.
the answer to that question is the same. Anybody can do it. And I'm
Yeah.
a massive advocate. I think Caroline she said hello at the beginning, but she's a physio as well, and wrote an amazing post about the breath, and how yoga is for everyone. And she advocates in her physio, that everybody should do it no matter
Yeah.
what. And
Yeah.
I think it's the
Yeah.
same in pregnancy. You could come
Mhm.
to a class and have really, really significant pelvic girdle pain, which is really reducing your mobility in many ways, and you could still completely be present and engage in that class.
And actually, that's
Um,
one of the things I hear quite a lot is women. So I quite often suggest to somebody to come along to go to pregnancy yoga, because I really believe that
yeah,
it is one of the things that should be part of your. It should be an essential part of your birth preparation. And often
yeah,
what I hear is, "Oh, I can't go to that because I've got SPD or pelvic girdle pain." What would you
yeah,
say to somebody that says that? Because sometimes I'm like, because that's not my area of
yeah,
specialty, so
yeah.
I'm a bit like, well, contact them and see
Yeah.
what they say, but I'm not, what would you say to them?
I mean, I've had people a woman come to a class who was on crutches, who had severe mobility issues. And I would say that anybody can do it. And actually, yoga can really support and alleviate symptoms of SPD or pelvic girdle discomfort, pain, because it's supporting. Basically, one of the most important things is to feel and root and connect with your feet. And a lot of issues which come around which are connected around the pelvis, come from the support from your foundation. And it's like the soles of your feet are like your root systems, and you have to be able to really be connecting with them, but they're constantly moving. So it's like, how do you root down through the four corners of your feet, or the triangle of your feet, as some people call it? So the little toe joint, big toe joint, and the heel, the edges of the heel. It's like the more that you connect with that, and it takes time and practice.
Yeah.
The more that you draw up through the arch of the foot, and the more you support the integrity of the pelvis, as you activate the feet, it naturally has a connection and a drawing up, which activates through the muscles around the hip and the abdominal muscles, which support the structure of the pelvis, your hip flexors. So it's really important to connect with the feet, and yoga is a wonderful, amazing thing for doing that. So just within that, the other sort of major support system for that particular kind of common symptom of pregnancy is the breath, and really being able to support or connect with a more conscious breath, a more mindful breath, and breathing more deeply, fully, and feeling in the body what's going on. There are certain stretches that you can do that can really help to support the mobility or elasticity of the pelvic floor muscles. And that's what you're trying to, it's like a kind of multiplex hammock that's sort of supporting the internal organs and supporting the whole structure of the pelvis. And you, by connecting with your feet and connecting with the breath, which is such a massive component in pregnancy yoga, always banging on about those, that you're actively doing that all the time. And there's lots of things which might need to be modified, but within generally a class, the movement, we're not doing rapid movement. I always think soft, slow, nourishing, they're the things I try to get people to think about when they're moving in pregnancy. And it's that same thing, that you have time to think, where are my feet? Where am I drawing up from? Or what am I connecting to? And just in the Western world, I think it's really underestimated the impact that it has on our structure, and the impact that it has on our pelvis and our pelvic floor, and the shoes we wear, the rest of it. So the way we sit. So all these things can be flared up in pregnancy, something that's been there for a while, but it's not that it can't be supported. And I think it's a really great place, especially for people who are, have got restrictions in pregnancy, or because they need more support, because they're probably feeling more isolated or uncomfortable, or all those things.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's those simple things as well. Like, I think often we think, right, okay, you've got pelvic girdle pain or SPD, so you need like a really big treatment, but actually something just so simple as just working with your feet and your alignment around your feet and the breath, and if that can make a difference, that that's massive, isn't it? It's absolutely massive, rather than thinking, oh my god, I'm totally broken and I need like this big huge amount of therapy or manipulation. Whereas actually if you can just do, and of course some of those mums absolutely need to go to see a physio or a chiropractor or whatever else it is, 100%. But every day do those simple exercises with their feet, and actually, because you've said that, sometimes when I'm in the house, I'm really mindful walking, so I'm really focusing in on planting my feet in a very specific way, just because you said that in those classes. So it's all those like little tidbits that you pick up in those classes, which are a huge benefit to all of us.
Definitely. How you stand generally at work.
Totally.
All those
and
things.
Even when you're cooking, like I spend a lot of time cooking with cooking cooking or tidying or preparing or whatever it is, you know, because
Yeah.
obviously I've got 3 children, so I spend a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
on my feet. So trying to
Oh
think
my
when
word.
I'm cooking how I can keep my feet in a really sort of specific
Yeah.
position really, I think,
Yeah.
helps to support my pelvis.
And
And
connecting
probably
in
one of
with
the things,
that. Ooh,
yeah.
sorry, phone drop. And just connecting in with that, it's like the constant, it's the drip feeding, that it doesn't need to be a conscious, it's like all the pelvic floor exercises, you know, it's better to kind of think about finding a way to integrate it into the day to day. And the same with the feet, that, you know, once you've got your baby, not constantly kind of dipping one hip, and because you start to feel it, and other muscles there's imbalance in the body. We're all imbalanced. It's nothing to be, you know, there's nothing wrong. It's just an awareness of that and a support for that, acknowledgement, that all those things. And like you said, you know, some people, I mean, if anyone has significant sort of symptoms, then additional support is one of the most important things. And I think that's what's really great about having specific pregnancy classes. There is that opportunity to share, and the group will do it amongst themselves. You know, half the time I'm redundant. They're sharing it with each other about other ways that they can, oh, well, I did this or I did that, and things that they've used. And that's really powerful. And it's really powerful because you're making or connections or friendships. And some women do make connections at that point, that they then, you know, they meet up. A lot of the women who've come to classes meet up with their babies, and it's so lovely because they've bonded at a time where a really transformative time. And to have someone who's been through that journey with you.
Some of my friends now, I met through pregnancy yoga the first 2 times. So, and we're still really connected, you know, and it's, you know, we're still really, really connected. So, and I think because you kind of got a shared interest, so more so than maybe other friends that I made, those ones are the ones that I'm still friends with. And I'm pretty sure it's because we had that connection, that we all really enjoyed being at a class together. We could out. So we would have been together for maybe 20, 30 weeks, that we all became sort of friends, and we're still in touch now. So one of the things that you said it's about that drip feeding, and one of the things that's been really, really impressed with specifically your classes, and I'm sure probably lots of other yoga classes are the same, but specifically with your classes, is the drip feeding information about birth, and about how how we can support ourselves through birth, and using our breath and using our bodies and everything. So what would you say overall pregnancy yoga does to help support you and that birth process?
I think one of the most powerful things is the empowering women, or supporting and constantly cultivating that sense of inner trust or inner belief. And that can take time to cultivate. Spending time doing breath work and sitting in a calm space to connect with yourself and your baby, and really constantly reminding women that they have all the tools that they need to birth their own baby, and they are the master or the expert or of their birth. And most women find that comes as a total shock. I mean, you'll know that as a doula, but every birth is unique and different, and every woman is unique, and every baby is unique. And so all the expertise and support is phenomenal, and we are very lucky to have all of it. But ultimately, we are the experts of our birth, because it's our body, our baby. We've grown and nurtured it for 9 months. So I think there's a massive need to really continue to really kind of shout about that, because most women don't, that is not their first instinct. Like, who do we trust, or who is most knowledgeable in our birth? And usually the first answer is not me, you know, like the woman. So I think that is really powerful, because we know that to support a woman through birth, you know, I mean, that's the role of a doula, or whatever word you want to use, a birth support, is to have that constant sense of unconditional love, trust, support, and belief in a woman and her abilities to birth. And also that thing that we're just really listening to her. rather than constantly telling or saying this is what you should be doing. And she then begins to listen to herself. And I think that has to be, you've got to practice or work at that. And yoga is the union of mind body. It's trying to connect that sense of your physical body with your supple body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, whatever you want to call all those different facets. It's just being more aware and in tune with yourself on all those different levels, mental, emotional. And the power of that in labor is immense. I think a lot of women, fear is a natural reflex response in labor. We all get to that point and we have that burst of adrenaline, and then that constant, there will be at some point, some women have it more frequently, but that sense of I can't do this, or this is too much, and the knowing of that, the acknowledging of all those different emotions and recognizing them without freaking out about them is a part of something that you do in a yoga practice, I suppose, because you're constantly exploring all the different emotions that come up without attaching too much or letting a story form about them, because you come back to the breath rather than attaching to a physical thing. And sometimes that works easier than others. Some weeks you can't get out of, oh, I'm annoyed with that, or why can't I do this, or I've got shopping to do, but it's just the constant practice, and it's that integrated practice which embeds. There isn't a blueprint to birth, and definitely pregnancy yoga and birth preparation. I always say that at the beginning of the workshops that I run is, this is not like a script so that you're going to have a perfect birth, because that doesn't exist. The perfect birth doesn't exist, just your birth. And it is just about finding those tools for acceptance, being aware of how the body is, what's happening in the body, physiologically, chemically, what's happening hormonally, so that you can support it. And yes, that certain lunges will help to open the base of the pelvis. Yes, by squatting, there's a downward action, a panna, the downward flow of energy and breath, but also the physiological shape of the pelvis that to support the structure or the bearing down of the baby. All these things are helpful, but it's not like you're going to get a book out when you're in labor and go, all right, I'm going to do this posture now, because it's imprinted, and you'll do what you need to do. And you'll know from watching lots of different women birth that they don't all do it the same. We don't all end up in the same position. Yes, there are some which are more helpful. Some will work with gravity more. Some women need to feel their feet. Some women are going to be in a pool. But the thing is that they will do what's right for their body, because it's been integrated. And that's where the benefits of doing it more regularly and doing it for a longer period through pregnancy can be really powerful, because you embed it and you begin to believe it. And that is where the power is, I think.
That's right. And we had a client that we were working with together, and what she said was, she'd been going to your classes, and what she said was, afterwards, she said, I really feel that going to Tessa's yoga classes every week really helped me to learn how to use my breath and taught me how to use my body. And one of the things I think often that happens with birth, I think, we talk often about active birth and different birth positions, and I think people think that they need to follow very specific positions. But I think by going to a class and starting to learn how to tune in with your body, actually starts to it shifts away that, as you sort of said, that ideal birth or the ideal birth position, and it starts to get you to think about how to move into your body to give birth. And I think one of the issues often is with birth is, I think that women have a set expectations about how they're going to do it. Or even if you look at there's like a sheet that goes out, and it's like these are the different positions you might give birth in. But actually, sometimes some women want to be in really positions, or some women want to just lie on their left or lie on their side, or do something completely different. I think often we override, not me specifically as doulas, but as a society, we override that. And I think giving women that confidence that they can birth in whatever position they can.
Well, exactly that, like you said. the confidence and the inner trust, because then it starts to be, well, am I doing it right? Or maybe I should get someone else to suggest. And if you're a birth geek like we are, and you read all these different scenarios from different birth professionals or midwives or whoever, that this constant sort of coming back to when you just step back and allow a woman to birth in a situation where there isn't any need for intervention or even touch, that she might move in a really organic way that seems unusual, but she might be kind of lifting one leg to one side because the baby is positioned in a certain way that it needs to move or shift or twist to move further down through the birth canal. And that could be for whatever reason, the different anatomical shape of a woman's pelvis.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. If
we sometimes start interjecting, then we're messing with that woman's natural ability to just trust her body and go with that. Sometimes a woman wants that support, and you can usually tell that. And there's amazing midwives and birth supports and doulas and who will actively do that when needed. But it's amazing. I think that's when you see someone just really trusting themselves, because they felt that already. They felt it in a class, that sudden connection with their baby and their body. And
what feels good,
not the need.
And what feels good, because I know there's like certain things that feel really, really, really good when I do them, and like probably that's me how I end up giving birth. There's certain things I think when I do that, it feels really comfortable. I think I can sit there for ages. It feels really, really, really comfortable. I can feel my body opening up the way that I expect it to open up. So it'll be really interesting coming up to this birth and seeing how I feel and what positions I use. Because I'm pretty sure,
and maybe
I'm pretty sure I know what they're going to be, because I know what feels good and what feels comfortable and what I like, what position I like to be in. So it's interesting. So
which is which is the best thing, because you're just honouring your own needs. Absolutely.
Totally. And as well, like post baby, what would, obviously you run some postnatal classes as well in Edinburgh. So what are the benefits of doing yoga after giving birth?
So I think the same, it's that sort of integration or continuation after the transformation that happens when you go through pregnancy and then childbirth and then motherhood. They're all different, transformative periods. And it's a huge shift in a woman's life, whether it's a first-time mom or subsequent, a mom of 4 who's having her 5th child. There's so much going on. And I think one of the most important times to have that support is postnatally. Because most women, and I was this woman, I really enjoy physical activity, and was really feeling in my body after having my baby that I needed to, and I had a very, there wasn't, my healing process was smooth after my baby, but I really wanted to like feel the energy or breath and prana in my body, and I wanted to move. And there's a real need, I think, because everything is just very slow when you've got a newborn baby. Like women say, the minutes can be like hours or days, but the days go by like weeks, and everything is just crazy. And sometimes you really feel that need to activate and energize, because that's what you want to do. But it's like you need to nourish and heal first, and then you need to slowly build up strength to be able to get to that place to energize and revitalize. And it kind of has to go in that order. And there's a lot of amazing, support for women now postnatally. And I think there's also a lot of pressure, and women feel the need to, get back. And it's like, there is no going back. I hear that sentence so much. And a great woman in pregnancy yoga and postnatal yoga, Uma Dinsmore, would say, as she's a big advocate of this, you don't go back, that there's only going forward, there's only new. And it's that little analogy I love about, you make a jigsaw with your partner, and you go through the process of birth, and then the jigsaw completely comes apart because you've got additional pieces to put in. You can't put it in the same way. It's different. You've
Totally
got to
different.
recreate it.
Yeah, totally
And
different.
it's like postnatally, you have to have the patience, I
Yeah,
think, and the acceptance to nurture yourself as you are now,
yeah,
rather than trying to get back to somewhere else,
yeah,
which can be one of the most uh, detrimental things in terms of energy later on if
yeah,
you rush too much.
yeah. Agree.
Pelvic floor sort of support and integrity, your whole body basically has just been under such transformation regardless of what birth you've had, and then you've got a newborn baby and everything is being, you're just very exposed, I
Yeah,
suppose. And I think a lot of women just want to take something back for themselves because they feel like everything is just wide open
totally
and
agreed.
they're giving, and
Yeah,
they want something for themselves. And I think that's probably the time where all those things that you cultivate, even through your pregnancy, about accepting and surrendering to the process and the time, is such a short time and
is
space. And I
yeah,
only say that because it sounds so patronizing. I was completely in that space postnatally, like, oh God, I need to like do more, the frustration, but also the complete loving of having a newborn baby. And
yeah,
I think something that where you can be nurtured and supported, and again, where there's that opportunity to share with other women, is invaluable.
yeah.
And to
Agreed.
learn about how to support yourself and build up to a space where you can find, a little bit of yourself again in amongst all the wonder and chaos of motherhood.
Yeah,
Somewhere that celebrates the baby, whether your baby that week is crying and colicky or whether they're a bundle of giggles, that there's no judgment, that a woman could come 5 minutes before the class ends and I'd welcome her with open arms,
yeah.
because I've been in that place where you've tried to get to a class and
Oh, totally.
there's been
Yeah,
a poon army, and
yeah.
then there's been a
A
traffic
feed, a
jam, then
feed
you've got
nammy,
to
and then
park.
I know because you're trying to sort of get,
Yeah,
you're trying to sort of time your feeds, and then trying to time
yeah.
everything. It's really, really, really
And
stressful. So I think it would be great to do another session like this, all about postnatal yoga.
yeah,
Be great to
definitely.
do that
It's like a
here,
whole,
because it's a whole different thing, isn't it? Because I do think
yeah.
that yoga can support you through that whole sort of transition, and I think it is
Oh,
a
massive.
life transition. I think we often expect us to go back to normal, but actually our whole life is different, especially the first time you
Yeah,
become a mum. It's not such a big culture shock the second, third, or fourth time you
yeah,
become a mum. But the first time you become a mum, it's quite a big culture shock that your life is quite
definitely.
different. And I'm really hoping to cover that and about to launch a postnatal course. And it really is about that
Amazing.
expectations and reality, and about really that transition, because I think it is different, and it is
Oh, it's huge.
big, 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 big change. And there's changes in our body, but there's also changes in terms of like how our lives are. And it's not a bad thing,
Yeah,
it's just evolving. It's just like an evolving
yeah,
process, and it's not
yeah. And your
actually that
place in
life is over,
society,
but
there's so many bits to it.
yeah, it's just
Definitely.
everything's different. So I'm just aware we've been chatting for ages, and we could chat all night, all night.
My voice
So
is probably gonna
I know,
go downhill.
I know. So but just in terms of where people can contact you,
Reach
so
me.
how can they reach you? So what's the best way to reach you?
So they can contact me through the Facebook pages, so Yes Yoga Mama or Yes Yoga, and anyone can use those pages. That's where I post stuff about the classes, but also just general things about birth choices, etc. Or the website, which is yesyogau.com. And they can email me any questions. And Instagram is just yes_yoga. So any of those places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I would love to hear from
Yeah,
whoever.
yeah. So if anyone's got any questions, they can just get in touch directly with you.
Just get in touch,
And
yeah.
your classes run on a Tuesday and Thursday at OMH. Is that right?
Yeah, so Tuesday is the late afternoon,
Yeah.
4:30. They're both at On Therapies, which is in the West End, and the Thursday class is an evening class. And my postnatal mama baby class is at Shanty Collective, which is Ferry Road. And then the birth preparation workshops run every 3 months. So there's going to be one at the end of July and then another one in August before I have my own baby. I'll do some demonstrations. And they're always really good fun. No, but we do some simulated, me and Nicola, some simulated birth scenarios, which is quite fun. So you can come and have a giggle at those. So you can find information about that on the Facebook pages or website, or just email me.
Super, that's great. Thank you so much, Tess, for coming on tonight. I think it's really, really, really helpful. So thank you. And I hope that a lot of friends do find it helpful. Okay, take care.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye.